morning, friends and loyal followers. Let's look at the new moon in Taurus that occurred on Saturday, early in the morning. It was in the late degrees of Taurus, but it doesn't diminish the energy of influence. That energy in Taurus is being boosted by Jupiter's passage into Taurus for the next 12 months. What else can Taurus energy offer us? In this newscast, I revisit the who and the potential to impact the lives of all of us in this Western world. There is also mention of Galactic Astrology, which I mentioned 12 months ago, and which suggests that disclosures are imminent. Interesting to consider. In the last newscast, I wrote about Mercury conjunct Uranus and suggested that we would receive sudden, unexpected news. Now, was that news the fact that Tucker Carlson was released by Fox Media? Was that the event? Okay, let's look at the new moon in Taurus. That occurred in the early hours of Saturday morning, Australian Eastern Standard Time at the 28 degrees of Taurus. And Pluto just into Aquarius, going backwards towards Capricorn, is making a lovely out-of-sign trine aspect to the sun and the moon, bestowing a sense of positive change at the physical and emotional level. Some will feel as if heavy challenges have been overcome, and this is about easing up a little. Mars in the last few degrees of Cancer, making a sextile relationship with the new moon, will stimulate physical vitality and allow you to behave with confidence and comfortably express your feelings and beliefs. So now Jupiter stays in Taurus for a whole year, expanding and enhancing everything he touches, including your weight. So this is a good time for evaluating and enhancing what is meaningful for you, both materially and spiritually. This movement also connects with the points of the recent solar eclipse, perhaps reflecting a connection you may not have made, or you may have made at the time on the 21st of April. What was exposed for you that perhaps had been hidden? Maybe it reveals itself now. Jupiter is also connecting with the North Node in Taurus, encouraging focus on what values are most meaningful for us and shedding anything which no longer serves us. And it is a great time to discard any items that you have not used for the last few years, let go of ideas that are no longer relevant, and perhaps ease yourself away from relationships that, if not toxic, are not serving your higher good. You don't have to be unkind or rude, but relationships do outlive their usefulness and their value, and we need to let them go with love and with grace. Now, as a new moon occurs in Taurus, our focus is taken to the Earth. And what does the Earth mean to us? What are the current issues around our collective care of the Earth? So we give thought to what may be destroying or damaging our Earth. What resources is the Earth yielding for us? How are we managing our agricultural practices? How does that affect our food resource? What other resources is the Earth yielding for us? Are there minerals or other elements we should consider? With Uranus in Taurus, what technology is being applied to the Earth's resources to enhance our ways of being or to enhance the value of the Earth? Are those technologies destructive to the Earth? Should we be seeking different solutions to the challenges of reaping resources from the Earth? How do we replace those resources, or is it just that we take? With some of these questions in my mind, I remind you of the article by Medscape about the toxins in our environment, which I mentioned in the last newscast. We can't make changes if we're unaware of what's wrong. But once we are aware of this destruction Is it not our moral duty to take action to address the issue or the issues? I'll put the connection down below, the reference. And while the Medscape article I referenced refers to USA data, much of it can apply to the rest of the Western world. There are many folk being aware who are adjusting their diets, choosing better foods for their bodies and general health. And these folks are also choosing to source their plant food from farmers' markets and other places closer to the soil where they have been grown. Same goes for meat. There are places in New South Wales, I believe, and possibly other parts of the world, where I understand that farmers are injecting their cattle with mRNA substances, which of course are going to settle in the muscle meat, which is then consumed by people. Surely we can choose beef and lamb sourced from pasture-raised animals? Similar for fish. I try to buy fresh fish direct from source, preferably the ocean. Unfortunately, here in Australia, salmon, which I really enjoy eating, is almost all farmed. Now, this is great for management and production. What about the waste matter circulating in the spaces in which the salmon swim? What are they feeding the salmon? Is it pellets from vegetable matter, maybe infused with other elements? Or is it pellets from the fish sources, again potentially infused with other elements? Same questions about barramundi. Some is fresh, but I know that some of it is also farmed like the salmon. My preference is to buy local mullet, which many locals here perceive as bait fish, but it is fresh and it has a high oil content. So really, I believe it's quite good for us. What local fish can you buy that's fresh? Now, Taurus rules the resources of the earth, including money. And no doubt you've had discussions with various folk about the use of cash and whether or not it has a future in our society. Have you considered digital currency? There are many angles to that money source, including the potential to be used by the banks to control and direct our spending. Is that what you want? So what about Pluto changing signs again? You may recall Pluto has been in Aquarius for a couple of weeks, and it's now going backwards towards Capricorn to continue exposing those behaviors, activities that no longer serve the greater good. On that note, did you know that ivermectin, banned during the COVID epidemic, is now magically allowed to be prescribed? How did that happen? Did it suddenly become not efficacious and become efficacious again? Notice how many other mandates and oppressive dictates are now being lifted, Pluto, just quietly without the mainstream media making any comment. Now, there is no doubt that the world is in a financial reset of some sort. Governments have been quantitative easing, in inverted commas, that is, printing more money since 2010. Common sense and logic suggests to me that this has to stop at some stage. Many of our countries are highly indebted. How do they expect to repay loans and balance the books? We have all been affected in some way by the diminishing value of the cash we may have either in the bank or in our pockets. How do we preserve our purchasing power? Do we simply trust that the banks, CBDC, central bank digital currencies, will provide a solution? Digital currency has been available to us since around 2010 when Satoshi Nakamoto created Bitcoin. Now, this is supported by blockchain technology, which allows the transactions of this type of currency to be tracked and potentially controlled. Bitcoin became a speculative currency, not a trading currency. And there have been thousands of digital currencies created since Bitcoin. Many of you will have yourself or know someone, who has bought digital currency, and some folk have made profits from the fluctuation in the prices. See, it's speculative. But the intention of having a digital currency is to avoid financial transactions being routed through the banks as we know them. Banks are known to take something from all the transactions they handle. And in large quantities of transactions, this can yield good income for the banks at the expense of those who own the money. To my knowledge, we have yet to find a digital currency that is easily used for merchandising, trading. Most of us use our credit or debit cards for cashless transactions. Our transactions are tracked via technology. Let's go cashless so we can understand where we spend our money. Oh, yeah? Oh no. The bank has stopped us spending at the bottle shop, the casino, the naturopath, the herbalist, the wrong supermarket. This is a small step to issue all bank customers. It is a small step to issue all bank customers with central bank digital currency, which is set up to track and control those movements of money much more easily. Well, if I have cash, I can still spend it at the casino and the bottle shop if they still accept cash. Can you appreciate the dilemma we are facing? What would you do to create a positive impact? On Friday, I was assisting guests in the kangaroo paddock, purchase kangaroo food from a slot machine which requires two $2 coins. Many guests had to feed the change machine with banknotes for the correct change. And a number of the guests claimed they only had cards. They probably did. The machine does not currently accept cards, and the sanctuary is addressing the issue. But similar situations will be occurring everywhere. There is significant downward pressure for us to only use cards. There is a downward pressure to use cards for every financial transaction. There is people pressure to retain cash as an option for many transactions. In Australia, cash is still legal tender. Who will prevail? Those who want to control, or the people? People pressure in France has forced supermarkets to revert to optional cash purchases. When the store is confronted by numerous shoppers who have large trolleys of goods and present to the checkout with only cash, but the store only accepts cards, what happens? Does the store accept the cash somehow? Or do the shoppers just leave their full trolleys and walk away, only to shop at a place which accepts cash? What would you do? Without cash, the tooth fairy cannot pay for teeth. She doesn't deal with cards. Without cash, how can you contribute to a busker in the street? Without cash, how can you give to a homeless person in the street? Without cash, how do you teach your children the value of money? Now, I'm going back to talk about cryptocurrency because I think this is coming to be part of our world. And how can we balance our resources with cryptocurrency, or can we? I recently attended a talk by a young man who was very knowledgeable about digital currency and who claimed that cryptocurrency was growing at 113% per annum. It has also experienced sharp declines in value. And many folks are reticent about investing in cryptocurrencies because there is so much lack of knowledge and uncertainty. Remember earlier I suggested it is at the moment it's mostly speculative. This young man, Benjamin, pointed out that this is simply a decentralized finance option for us, DeFi. So some points for using crypto as opposed to cash, which we talked about before. When you pay for goods or services, there is no third party like the banks. Supply is limited by the amount of currency that can be mined. Crypto can be attached to commodities, gold, silver, and currencies. And there's privacy. The technical security allows anonymity. And even people who have no bank accounts, like third world countries, can have digital ownership. Holding crypto is like having digital gold. And someone suggested to me in a conversation just the day before yesterday that maybe this is a way that we can actually, the Western world can get can get resources to the people in third world countries to whom we are sending resources. But the resources are being consumed by the leaders and the people who need the resources, the people on the ground starving for food and for fresh water, don't get them. Maybe digital currency is an option for us to get resources to them. What do you think? Let me know. Now, from an investment point of view, Ben encouraged us to balance our asset portfolios by including several asset classes. Now, this is conventional wisdom. So property is a strong asset and many folk own their own homes. And there are shares of many kinds. There's cash, there's crypto, there's gold and silver. And apparently silver as a commodity has risen significantly in value over the last few months. Do you have any silver or gold in your possession? Now, I'm no financial advisor, but do check with your own financial advisor and do your own assessment of your asset base and make the decisions that fit best for you. I'm planning to meet up with Ben to further my understanding of how to access this financial asset. And he referred in his conversation to a report put out by Accenture, and I'll put the reference down in the notes. And it relates to digital assets in Australia. You may find that interesting reading. Now, still on resources and money, pardon me, I watched an interview with John Nolan talking with General Blaine Holt. And I put the reference to the video down below as well. And they talk about quantitative easing, which I've just mentioned before, printing more money. Check about the 11-minute mark in this video. Now, just an odd thought, but maybe relevant. Some of us have been seeking, waiting, someone or something to deliver us from this mess we are in as a society. Do you know, we've been very successfully programmed to believe that the power to direct our lives is outside of ourselves. We, the people, actually have to address our own issues. There is no one outside of ourselves who can resolve our issues. Inside of us, we have all the tools we need to know the answers and evolve. So I'm still talking about Taurus new moon energy when I say we need to pay attention to personal resources and self-worth. And this includes, sensual pleasures, general contentment, patience, and the ability to persevere to achieve an objective. Taurus energy also includes stubbornness. So the ability to release this aspect of ourselves is also in the spotlight. Taurus is a fixed earth sign. Hence, it has the qualities of stubbornness, but also perseverance. And being of the earth, this energy allows or encourage us to enjoy physical pleasures like the exhilarating feeling after a tough physical workout, great sex, a pleasurable body massage, delicious food, and just being and connecting with nature. Like this lovely scene behind me from the desert out of Alice Springs. And Mars in the last few degrees of Cancer, making a sextile relationship with this new moon, will stimulate that physical vitality and allow you to behave with confidence and comfortably express how you feel and what you believe. Now I want to talk about the role of WHO, World Health Organization. I've mentioned that in previous newscasts. We have this organization, the World Health Organization, via the International Health Agreement, pushing for not more, but virtually total power over us. I wrote about that in my March newscast, encouraging folk to contact their local member about the issue, which I also did. It was very interesting to see in recent weeks a video of a British Member of Parliament at the behest of his constituents, presenting to his Parliament the argument against supporting the International Health Agreement and the WHO. But you know what? I understand that that video is no longer visible. Surprise, surprise. And if you listen to Russell Brand, you learn that the MP has been pressured by the Parliament to be quiet. Why? Isn't it a parliamentarian's job to represent his people and express what they want? This WHO discussion is an ongoing matter and will extend for at least another year. So please check out the information in the reference point in the notes so you can learn more. And what can you do if you want to do something? I did write to my local member and I did receive a response. But do I trust any politician? Now, I've got a interesting little video showing a multinational group, including Dr. Robert Malone, that has convened in Europe. This group have convened in Europe for the past 2 or 3 years to discuss the COVID phenomenon. One of the members claims that by trusting the WHO with our health, it's a bit like trusting our life with a Colombian drug cartel. What do you think? I thought that was quite an interesting comparison. Now, I mentioned in the introduction that I was going to talk about galactic astrology, which I mentioned, I think, 12 months ago. I watched the latest YouTube video from Pam Gregory, in which she interviews Julia Balazs, who is a galactic astrologer. What does that mean? She's looking at the galaxy and how that impacts on our astrological charts. Very interesting stuff she talks about. And Julia suggests that the charts of some of our prominent entities, Billy Gates, the UN, Putin, and others, will be influenced by some significant changes over the next few weeks. She expects the truth will be the winner. Really? We wait and watch. Reference below. Always mention yoga because that's part of what I do as well. And I'm delighted to be back at the Detox Centre teaching yoga to some of the clients at that facility. My focus is always on breathing techniques, on which I receive great feedback from many of those clients. So please review full yoga breathing if you would like a refresher for yourself. Because remember, when we breathe correctly and efficiently, we can accomplish so much more. And more importantly, we positively impact our mental and physical health. Baby books. It's always a pleasure to create books for babies, providing them with a map for life and a keepsake. It's a hardcover booklet, including pictures. And I'm working on a book for Willow right now, thanks to her grandpa, who's also a chair yoga student of mine. The positions of the planets at the precise time and place of birth provides information about an individual's map for life. And superimpose on that map the movements of the planets which continue to impact the natal chart, the influence of nurture and education, and finally understand that everyone has free will. The chart provides the map. The individual decides on how to follow that map. It's like having your own personal sheet of music, and you decide how to play that music. Loudly or softly, quickly or slowly, with or without animation. Everyone is unique. And when I do a booklet for a child, my focus is on the unique needs of that child at an emotional and spiritual level. I aim to advise the parents and carers of the behaviours and stimulations that work best for that child's spiritual and emotional development. So if you would like to know what is in your map, let me know and we can make some arrangements. If you would like to create a keepsake for that little special person in your life, please be in touch and we can make a plan. A little story about resources. 2 days last week, I spent at a conference showcasing a number of resource exploration, development, and production companies. And I've been particularly interested in any resources that are located in that northwest part of Australia over which the solar eclipse travelled a few weeks ago. The companies represented at this conference are all listed on our stock exchange, and most of them are focused on Australian-based resources. It was a very interesting time for me learning new vocabulary around mining, all sorts of resources, including gold, copper, nickel, uranium, lithium, rare earths, and many others. Now, traditional wisdom suggests that the eclipse energy exposes what has been hidden. The degree of this solar eclipse, the 24th of April, also traversed the ascendant of the chart of Australia at Federation, suggesting that as a nation, we need to expose our hidden resources and talents. Now, Earth-based resources are not our only national resource. We have many talented and very intelligent people in our country who are able to create many kinds of intellectual property. What software products are we about to share globally? What businesses do we have that have global reach that benefits not only the business owners, but also our nation and our client nations? Let us be open and aware of new opportunities. Now, I leave you with encouragement to consider the resources of the earth, the value of the Taurus energy in looking after your body, your food intake, your massaging, if that's what you like. Have a wonderful, beautiful month, and I'll talk to you again at the new moon in Gemini. Bye for now.